Here's the proof of authority module demo. First, we'll start out by just starting up the chain and building it. All that this requires is a parameter for the different admins. Only these admins can update this parameter, as well as control the chain in terms of what validators are allowed in and what their set power is. With this, GenTX's, Genesis accounts, all of this is still the same for starting up a network. It's just this minor configuration need here. Once you have the chain built and it is running with the GenTX validators, the admins can begin to take over and change out the power, remove validators, and add validators as requested by the chain. So from here, what we're going to do is we're going to check out the validators, and we can see that we have a single validator, the one on the left, and then we can see how many tokens it has. In this case, this is not really tokens, but more so how much percent of the network. So in this case, it'd be 100% of the network is owned by this validator. We can then, as the admin, which is account 1 here, we can run this command and we can actually update them to, say, 123. So we've minted tokens out of thin air and essentially just given to them. They continue to mint and bond. In this case, there's no change, but if we wanted to, we could remove them and then halt the chain, but let's continue on with the demo. What we'll do here is after the GenTXs have happened, we're going to create this validator. This requires you to change out from TX staking to TX POA, but everything else about this file is the same. So you set your public key, your identifier, your website, all of that is standard with Cosmos SDK 50. The only difference is that we ignore this amount because we don't want them to actually create the validator since it is proof of authority. We want them to go into a queue to be accepted. So what we'll do here is we're going to create a validator, and it's going to then go into a pending queue of waiting to be accepted. So they don't have any tokens, no tokens have been minted, no tokens have been moved around. They're just waiting. The other validator continues to mint, and they are the only ones here. With this, we'll say that one of the admins wants to actually allow this new validator in. They already see the operating address here. So instead of requiring 2 steps of accept the validator and set the power, you can just set the power on this validator and it will automatically pull them into the set and begin to allow them access. So we're going to set this to 123 tokens since they're actually offline, and then we can check that the pending validators, there are none. And if we go check staking validators, we can see that there's now 2 total validators here, the original one, as well as this new one with 123 tokens. Now, we may decide to give them more, in which case that would halt the chain if we went over too many, but we could also remove them. So maybe down the line we decide that we no longer want this validator. We can ask to remove them. Here we would remove them, and then we can check back on the staking validators, and we can see that they are now status 1, which is unbonded. So they are no longer signing blocks. That test has been written within the end-to-end testing. So I do already check for this, where we check for the required signatures after we do remove a validator. Hey, make sure that there's only 1 signature on these future blocks to verify this. So that's the current state of the proof of authority module. As I've mentioned many times, because this is built on staking, we can easily migrate from a proof of authority chain to a proof of stake chain just by minting tokens to the new users as needed, maybe changing the bond denomination and then scaling up from that.